Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors, America's only daily outdoor TV show. Your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm glad you're here this Monday morning. We appreciate the viewership. We got a great week planned the week before Thanksgiving. So a lot of y'all will be getting stuff together and getting ready for a big Thanksgiving week. But let's get started with our show with our weather. High 73, low 49. It's nice, cool weather. It feels good. Water temperature is still around 75. It should start dropping this week. I think I said this about 3 weeks ago, but we should start dropping soon. Our Monday moon phase brought to us by Mountain Dew. Get out and do. We had the new moon yesterday, so we're starting to waxing up. The first little sliver is going to be tonight. So it's going to be coming in about 2 weeks. We'll be having our full moon around Thanksgiving weekend. So that's important to all outdoorsmen, what that moon is doing. The marine forecast, I actually don't have a marine forecast this morning, but it's going to be in good shape as far as the heavy weather getting out of here and the front coming through. It's going to start calming down, hopefully. Our fishing game times. We're going to do our fishing game time today because we have a video coming up later. Our fishing game time brought to us by Blue Water Outriggers on a one time. We're looking at 12:01 to 2:01, right in the middle of the day. I love those middle of the day stories. There's been a lot of stories about outdoorsmen catching big fish right in the middle of the day. And I know I joke about it, but I've had people I know take their lunch break and go throw the pole in wherever close to water is, and ironically, sometimes they catch some of the best fish. It don't happen often, but it does happen. So I do like those stories. All right, we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. Let's talk. As outdoorsmen, we're always giving tips to each other, and it's always a lot of fun. And a lot of times, though, most of outdoorsmen, we learn our tips growing up with another outdoor person. It could be your dad or brother, or uncle, or grandmother. And a lot of my granny was a heck of a fisherman, and I loved fishing with her as a kid. My Granny Mills there in Hosford. But one of the things, anytime we do something ourselves and fix it instead of paying somebody to do it, it's always special to me. And the little things, and I want to say little things, I'm going to hold this right here. This little kit right here says, these are rod tips. I know you recognize them, rod tips. I just put my last one on, and I just went by and got another package when I was at Blue Water the other day. And on this side right here, the heavy duty ones, and this side for light duty. That's 6 different sizes, and you want to fit them. But it was funny. I just put my last one on from my last package. I usually get them in a package of 3, but I put one on last week, and I was going to do it on the show and all, but y'all know how to do it. But if you get a chance to do that, you want to make sure they fit snug. So that's why I got all different sizes. And you would think at my age I would not have more broken rod tips, because you'd think most broken rod tips comes when you're a kid and teenager, just not being careful, and then you mature out as an outdoorsman and take care of your stuff. But I think as you get older, you go back to those teenage years and it's still careless, because the last couple of years I've broken 2 or 3 rod tips accidentally. So my tip of the day is get some tips and make sure you have some on your little tackle situation there. Also, talking about tackle, let's go keep it in the T theme, the tarpon. Folks, I've talked to several people who this past couple of weeks have caught quite a few tarpon. And they're not catching these huge ones, but they're catching, we've talked about it before on the show, how tarpon have been up in North Bay and West Bay. And of course, I've always been out outside the pass around Shell Island and all, as they're coming through and all. But I'm sure, because this water temperature has not cooled down. Remember me talking about the water temperatures, it's going to cool down, it's going to cool down. Well, it hasn't. And the tarpon, there's still some tarpon up in North Bay, up by the bridge where they've always been. In fact, the report I got, one of the reports was catching them on the little walkway at a Deer Point Down Bridge. So tarpon, they're a lot of fun to catch. They're catch and release. Of course, they're no good to eat, but they're a lot of fun, and they do find their way up in here. I had a guy tell me he caught some over in West Bay. He wasn't really fishing for them, but he just caught some. So I've had reports from North Bay and West Bay, and that's just reports that I've gotten. So a lot of times when I get a report, it's usually the tip of the iceberg. Usually a lot more of that going on that I don't hear about until later. But also the other place, the third place, is around the Tyndall Bridge over there. So a guy caught one as a side catch again. But they're a lot of fun to catch. So, and they're not big and all, but a lot of fun. So I want to talk about tarpon. And also, when you're setting up for tarpon, you try to have your camera with you. And the big thing on tarpon fishing is, recording that jump. That's one of nature's, just a great show of nature. And it's just a lot of fun. Okay, speaking of a show of nature, I don't have it. We're going to have it maybe on tomorrow's show. We had on Veterans Day last week. I came home and I heard, it was real quiet, I drove up and I heard this noise, a little screeching. I knew it was an eagle right away, and I started looking around like we all do, and I saw an eagle come land on a tree an old dead tree, right outside over by my firewood, and it looks out over the bay, and that's just a great perch for him. And there was another eagle there. And I sneaked in the house, said, okay, I'll get the camera. And she was able to take some good video of two eagles right there, and it was beautiful. And on Veterans Day, and it was just really special. So it's a little short video, but I think the eagles are making a great comeback in this area here, and they're just a lot of fun watching. Okay, the other thing I want to talk about before we get into the video, the food plots. A lot of us have been working on food plots, and I was talking to my buddy Benny Forehand, and we've done outdoor stuff together for 50 years, I know. And we were talking the other day, about how the deer, they're getting so dependent on food plots because everyone's doing food plots on little 20 acres or 40 acres or whatever size you've got. Everybody's doing food plots. And you see the pictures we show. All the deer are going to food plots now. So, and we've always talked about the acorns, how important they are, that mast for the deer. But I think, generation after generation, I think the deer might be weaning off the acorns and going to the food plots if they're being planted every year. They're not passing up the acorns, but y'all give me some feedback on that and tell me what you think, because it's just something I've really thought about. I don't have any scientific research on it, but you look at all these camera shots and these deer are all over these food plots. Okay, now we're getting ready for the video. This video, I went up and visited Billy Brown, and y'all know Billy's the one that we're going on a tuna fishing trip with, Brown Manufacturing out of Midland City, Alabama, right there north of Dothan. And Billy's been after me for a couple of years to get up there and look at his place. He's got some good land up there and a big pond in it and everything. So I promised him for years, every time I go on a tuna trip, he said, come up here to my place. So anyway, I went up there the other day. And there's Brown, his dad started that implement and business and Brown Products and Brown Manufacturing. That's two different, it's still the same family, but do two different things. And I never will forget, Billy, Larry, and Ricky, the three brothers, Billy, Larry, and Ricky, about a month or 2 months after the storm, they called me and they told me they were coming down to my house and bringing their heavy machinery. And they didn't ask me, they said, we're going to move it, because they knew I had trees all over the place. And folks, they came down and spent a Saturday, it was an unforgettable Saturday. They came down with those grapplers and those big old saws, and the three brothers. And I just marvel at the amount of work they could do with that machinery. And they make all that machinery. You're going to see it here in this video. But it was just, that's kind of fellows they are. They just came down to help a friend. And when that happened, it was just a special day. When they were coming down, and I kept, and Ricky, he kept asking, can we get this one? Can we get that one? And they did probably a week's worth of work. They were taking a two-man crew. They did it with the machinery they had. They did it in one day, spent the whole day. We just had a great day of fellowship, and Larry, there was so much helping also. I'll never will forget that. So with that being said, when I go up there, we're in Midland City, Alabama, so we're up there. And I went up there the other day and picked up an implement, but also he showed me around. Billy's real proud of that place, and it really, it's kind of places, I want to urge all of y'all, if you get a little bit of property here, a little bit of property there, and you do all kind of things with it, you're going to see, you look on this video. So we're going to take a break, come back, and on my trip to Alabama to see my buddy Billy. Folks, up here north of Dothan, around Midland City, about 22 miles north of Dothan, come see my buddy Billy Brown. He wanted to show me his farm, his daddy's old place, but Billy, let's talk about his house first. Tell me about the house.
Well, my father built it back in 1980. Built it from lumber that he got out of a tobacco barn over in Calvary, Georgia. The tobacco barn built in the 1840s. And he bought the tobacco barn, had it torn down. My brother and I went over, loaded all the lumber up, and brought it home and stacked it up, and then he started building stuff with it, and this is one of the things he built.
That is cool. How big is your pond?
2.5 acres.
2.5 acres. And we got you got it pretty well stocked, don't you? This is nice.
Yeah, I've got copper-nosed bluegill, threadfin shad, fathead minnows, and F1 tiger bass. The bass at 16 weeks had grown from smaller than my little finger to 11 inches.
What's the secret of them growing like that?
It's their genetics.
Okay, tiger bass.
Okay.
Okay, what else can you tell me? How fast do a tiger bass grow?
They say they'll grow 3 pounds a year in optimum conditions.
Mm-hmm.
And evidently this pond is optimum. They told me that the growth rate I've got right now, that by the last of May they should be weighing 3 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
They said that this spring only about 10% of them will spawn,
Mm-hmm.
and then the following spring all of them will spawn.
Okay, what else you have in here?
Threadfin shad for feeding them, fathead minnows for feeding them. Of course, they've already eat all the fatheads. They've just started feeding on threadfin, but they're really eating up the brim.
Tell us about you. That's solar powered feeder?
Yeah.
Cool.
Had several friends have several brands. They told me that one was the best one, give them the least trouble.
All right. All right.
System will,
I better turn on this aeration system. You got one here and one down there, right? And then another one way down there?
the third one, yeah.
And was your motors right here or just?
Yeah.
Cool. And that keeps it aerated.
Well, this pond holds 7.5 million gallons of water, and this aeration system will saturate 9.5 million gallons every 24 hours.
That is cool.
Since I put it in, I've maintained an oxygen level of 7.5 to 8.5.
How often do you do it?
Runs constant, except in the winter.
Okay.
I turned it off last week, so the water will re-stratify.
Uh-huh.
But with it running, water temperature is going to be the same top to bottom.
Okay.
So for them to survive the winter, I got to turn it off, let it stratify, so they can go to the bottom and have the warmer water.
All right, cool. All right, so what you're trying to do, you want to make this a good quail area. It's been fascinating.
Quail, turkey, and deer.
Quail, turkey, and deer. And you've cut through here, and then you're going to continue sort of cleaning out all through here?
Right. I'm on this to the right. We're going to burn it and clean up as much as we can with fire. And of course, the huckleberries I'm not worried about because they just grow right back. They actually prosper from fire.
Mm-hmm.
And then the water oaks, I'm cutting them out and just leave them laying as piles for the birds to hide in, turkeys and quail to hide in them. Deer will bed in them. So I'm giving, good hiding, good bedding, good brood grounds for the birds, for the turkeys and the deer and the quail. So I'm just trying to provide all the things, and then I'll also be planting the lespedeza out here and partridge peas out here, so that it's a good feed ground also.
All right.
Besides, I'll be disking trails in there just to break up the forest floor to get the weeds, the natural weeds to grow out, the goldenrods and the ragweed and beggar lice and stuff like that.
Better tell us about this invention you got.
It's Brown Products limb trimmer. It's for front end loader operation. Can be used on skid steer, but it's not really built heavy enough to handle the trouble, the stresses it causes. But it's for trimming limbs on the side of your roads and your trails, your shooting lanes, what have you.
Cool. We're gonna get a demonstration of it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Okay, you can see one side is cut and then the other side is not trimmed. So he's gonna come back down the other side. Come back down this way. That's a cool machine there. That's amazing, Billy. Now the work you did, look how clear, you cleared it, how wide that is now compared to what it was before.
Now I come in with my grapple and just pick all that up,
Mhm.
pile it in a brush pile.
You in about 15 minutes, you did about 4 hours worth of work by hand.
With a pole saw that puts you in bed.
With a
all day.
post, that's exactly right. The post law.
It's made out of the same material they make the concrete saw blades out of for
Mm.
sawing interstates.
Cool.
And so using the saw blade,
Hmm.
I'm not worried about flying debris because I'm not making chunks, I'm making sawdust.
Right.
Did you see any debris flying?
No, it was not. That's very nice.
And you've seen where the counties, what have you, just destroy the side of the road and just spatter all the limbs
Yes.
and what have you. Well, look how clean this cut is.
I know it.
It doesn't bust the limbs.
That's pretty and clean. You're right. So y'all are producing them now?
Yeah.
You just started producing them. Okay.
Right.
Now, what's it? If the people looking it up, how will they find it?
Brownproducts.com or here in the southeast, implementsales.com
Okay.
out of Atlanta. They're the distributor for it.
And y'all make them right here.
Yeah, make them here in Pinkard, Alabama.
All right.
Thanks for watching America's only daily outdoor TV show, Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester, featuring hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.